like what? Hi, my name is Beth Simmons, and this is my informative speech for Com 101. Wedding ceremonies are seen as one of the most important parts of a person's life. Even though the divorce rate hovers somewhere around 50%, weddings are still seen as a cause for both tears and laughter. Many of the wedding traditions that we're currently used to have both religious and historic origins. Many of these traditions include the wedding dress, the bouquet toss, the bridal party, and the something old, something new rhyme. The white wedding dress is one of the most central points of today's weddings, but it actually did not come into existence until around 1840. According to the Perceptives magazine, the white wedding dress was worn by Queen Victoria in her wedding to Prince Albert. The dress was white or ivory with orange trim and lining. This dress was seen as very fashion forward and also very extravagant. At that time, many women just wore whatever best dress they had in their closet, no matter what color that dress was. For Queen Victoria, she went all out and bought this white dress. It was a very rich fabric and white. At that time, the white was very extravagant because you couldn't very well clean white with no bleach or strong detergents. Her white dress began what we currently know as the wedding dress. In America, this trend caught on around 1945. This was whenever America was involved in World War II, and rations on fabric began to take place. The wedding dress industry actually lobbied Congress, and they received an exemption to be able to use whatever fabrics they wanted. So the most extravagant dress you could get that time was a wedding dress. You could get it in silk, you could get it in satin, you could get it in lace, which weren't allowed to be used on any other clothing at that point in time. This ushered in the idea of an extravagant white wedding dress, which is still followed through with us today. While the wedding dress is extremely important, almost equally important are the accessories that a bride chooses for herself. This includes the veil and the bouquet. The bouquet toss actually has its origins in a very superstitious belief. Around the Victorian times, a bride's dress was thought to bring good fortune to anyone who could grab a piece of it. Now, if you can grab something and get good fortune from it, of course people are going to be trying to grab it. So as the bride would walk back down the aisle after becoming a wife, people would reach for her dress and grab pieces of it, trying to get just a piece of that good fortune. So by the time she got to the end of the aisle, her dress was very ragged and she barely had any clothes on. To try and deter people from ripping her clothes off, she began to carry a bouquet, which as she started her walk down the aisle, she would toss, trying to distract the audience while she had time to get away, hopefully with as much of her clothing on as possible. The bouquet toss is not the only tradition that has its origins in superstition. The wedding party actually began as a way to deter evil spirits in medieval times from attacking the bride. According to CNN, the bride would ask her bridesmaids to accompany her down the aisle dressed in a similar dress as she was, to confuse the evil spirits, and then making them mad and leaving the ceremony. The best man, another member of the wedding party, is actually a tradition that arose not out of superstition, but out of necessity. In weddings a couple hundred years ago, it was oftentimes an arranged marriage, and not all parties were very excited about this arranged marriage. So the groom would ask his friend, who was the best swordsman, hence the name best man, to accompany him at the altar. This man would stand to the right of the groom and would have his sword ready in case the bride's family decided to try and kidnap her, or in case the bride herself decided to run. This is also why the bride stands on the left of the groom. She stands to his left so that his right hand is free to grab his sword in case someone comes to take the bride or she tries to run. The Victorian age gave us many of these traditions, as well as the something old, something new rhyme that many of us hear today. The rhyme goes, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. There's also a lesser known last line that's a sixpence in your shoe. The rhyme has very, very literal interpretations. The something old is something that a bride carries with her to represent her family and the past that she's leaving behind. This is typically something given to her by her grandmother or her mom, such as jewelry or a piece of clothing. The something new represents the new life that she's entering into. A bride will usually use her wedding dress as her something new, especially in current times. The something borrowed is something that she asks for from a good family friend who's seen as a good wife. This is something that will help the bride also have that good fortune of being a good wife. And the something blue is literally something blue that shows purity and simplicity. The sixpence in her shoe is to literally help the bride walk into her new life on good fortune and hopefully lots of money. While many of these traditions have historic origins, such as the wedding dress, the bridal party, the bouquet toss, and the something old, something new rhyme, they still continue in our ceremonies today. And I'm pretty sure that as weddings continue to change, we'll continue to use these traditions, and their meanings will continue to be relevant to brides today. Thank you.